I was asked the other day, and I took a little heat for it. They said, who's our biggest threat? Is it China, sir? Is it Russia? I said, no, our biggest threat are high-level politicians that work in the United States government, like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, Justice Department, because that's poisoning our country. I can do things with China. I made the greatest trade deal in history with China.
That's former President Trump at his weekend Waco rally, weighing in on what he called the greatest threats to the United States. Trump also called out potential 2024 GOP rival Governor Ron DeSantis during the rally, highlighting his increasing edge over the Florida Republican in recent polling, while also slamming him on COVID. Take a look.
They keep saying, oh, I think DeSantis can do okay with farmers. I don't think so. Based on polls, he's not doing okay with anything. But in the case of Florida, they unfortunately did shut it down. They shut down the beaches. They shut down everything. So now that people are finding out about what happened, they're saying, man, he's dropping like a rock. And I wonder why. But, you know, you never like it when somebody comes, you see, I'm a loyalist. They say, sir, don't talk about that, sir. Because people don't want to hear that, but I do, because I'm a loyal person. Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. Please. Please, sir, endorse me. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot, because honestly, the Secretary of Agriculture, Adam Putnam, good man, but I never met him. I didn't know him. So I don't feel guilty about it. You know, if you don't know somebody. I wish I knew him, actually. You want to know the truth, I wouldn't have done this. So what happened is, I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. And I endorsed him, and he became like a rocket ship. Within one day, the race was over. He got the nomination. But when you're getting a guy, so he gets the nomination because of you, he wins the election because of you. 2 years later, the fake news is up there saying, will you run against the president? Will you run? And he says, I have no comment. I say, that's not supposed to happen. I have no comment. No. So I'm not a big fan.
Joining us now, national political correspondent for Politico, Meredith McGraw. She was at the rally in Texas and writes about it in her newest piece for Politico. Meredith, you were there. Lucky you. What were some of your key takeaways from the rally? Set the scene for us in terms of crowd size and enthusiasm. And what were some of the key messages that former Trump tried to deliver?
Well, thousands of Trump's Texas supporters lined up for hours in the hot sun there to get a glimpse of the president, to hear from him and to hear his message. And what they ended up hearing wasn't exactly a vision for a second term, but it was a list of Trump's grievances. He went after his political rivals. He talked about his investigations and went on about a lot of the issues that are facing him. As we wrote in our report, there was kind of a familiar feel to this. A lot of these rallies end up kind of feeling the same. There were some new twists to it, official campaign signage that said, quote, witch hunt. And it really seems like Trump's making a big bet here for his 2024 campaign, where he thinks that talking about these investigations, talking about issues that are facing him is actually going to be a political asset to him and something that will fire up his base. But what's yet to be seen is if that will move the needle past anyone but his core of supporters.
Yeah, so let's explore that a little further. You wrote in your piece about the rally that there were several rally goers there who expressed disappointment that Governor DeSantis had not done more to defend Trump as he stares down all of these investigations, including the possible indictment from the Manhattan DA. Tell us, the Republicans you talked to there, what's their feelings about this Trump-DeSantis rift?
Yeah, it's so interesting when you're talking to folks on the ground. A lot of Trump supporters there do like DeSantis. They like his policies. They like what he's done in Florida, but they'd like for him to just stay there. What was interesting when I was talking to some of them, though, and as we noted in the piece, was they expressed disappointment that DeSantis didn't go far enough in defending Trump. They felt like he poked fun at Trump and mocked him in his response. One of them called him a traitor, said that DeSantis was going after Trump's character, something they said that Trump doesn't do. But they thought that DeSantis should be coming more to Trump's defense here. And for a lot of the people that I talked to at the rally, they were, very supportive of Trump as he's going through these investigations, and really phrased Trump's legal situation in a lot of the same terms he used up there on stage.
So, Meredith, of course, the world's been watching Lower Manhattan and the Manhattan DA's office, wondering if an indictment will come in the days ahead. Well, as we wait and Trump continues to post on Truth Social well after midnight, what's next for the campaign? This was the rally everyone had been looking to for a while. What else do they have on the schedule? What's going to be their approach this week during this legal waiting game?
I think it's a lot of wait and see. Trump's legal team has said that they've been largely in the dark. And even though Trump made that prediction last week that he would be arrested on Tuesday, obviously that didn't happen. So like all of us, they're waiting to see what happens with this Manhattan grand jury.
All right. Well, Meredith McGraw, thank you again for being with us this morning. We, of course, will be reading your latest for Politico. Up next.